And we're live.
Hi, welcome to What Happened This Month, the Enoch Pratt Free Library's live online current events quiz. I'm your host, Paula Willey. I work at the Orleans Street branch where I help people find accurate information and authoritative resources each and every day. I'm here with 5 multiple choice questions about what's been happening in the world. Have you been paying attention? Hey, don't worry if you don't know all the answers. We'll go over them at the end and share some great ways to learn more. Top story in the news this month is Russia's invasion of Ukraine. More than 4 million people and a van full of kangaroos, believe it or not, have fled the country since the invasion began on the 24th of February, according to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. The speed and scale of this displacement has not happened in Europe since the Second World War. Before the war, Ukraine had a population of 37 million. Right now, it's about 29. My question for you, which of the following famous people were once refugees? A. Albert Einstein. B. Actress Mila Kunis. C. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. D. Superman. Refugees are different from migrants in that they have not left their country by choice. They have been forced to leave home in order to escape war, persecution, or natural disaster. With any luck, most Ukrainian refugees will be able to return to their homes once the conflict in Ukraine is resolved, or they will find stable places to live in other countries. A different kind of refugee is Flamingo 492, also known as Pink Floyd. 492 escaped from the Sedgwick County Zoo in Wichita, Kansas in June of 2005, 17 years ago. Zookeepers were quite worried about Floyd, as the central U.S. has little habitat suited to the needs of a flamingo from Tanzania. However, Flamingo 492 has apparently not only survived but thrived. The bird made its way to the shallow salt water of Texas's Gulf Coast and has been spotted almost every year. This year, 17 years later, 492 was spotted by a fishing guide from Edna, Texas. 492 is probably about 20 years old. Flamingos in the wild can live into their 40s. Does that sound like kind of a long time to you? It did to me. So I did some research, and it turns out that some species of birds can live as long as humans. Which of these families of birds lives the longest? A. Cardinal. B. Cockatoo. C. Crane. Or D. Coot. The birds in my front yard don't seem to live that long, but maybe that's just because we have a lot of foxes and cats in our neighborhood. All right, on to question 3. Remember last year when a giant ship named the Ever Given blocked the Suez Canal in Egypt? Here it is from above, looking kind of like a toy boat that went sideways when a kid was playing with it. But I am here to tell you that these boats are huge. Here's a tanker ship in the Suez Canal taken from ground level, and this isn't even a particularly big one. So it's happened again, this time with a ship from the same company called the Ever Forward, and this time it's stuck in the Chesapeake Bay right here in Maryland. Our friend Nathan Sterner from WYPR took this picture of it from the shore and told me I could use it. There she is, stuck in the mud. So my question for you is not about the boats, but about the containers they carry. See all those oblong boxes piled on the deck? Each of those boxes is a 40-foot long steel container, and it's the same steel box that you see trucks hauling. In Baltimore, stacks of containers are a common sight around the port as they're waiting to get loaded onto a ship or loaded onto a truck. And getting stuck is just one of the mishaps that can befall a container ship like this. Another problem is containers just flat out falling overboard during bad weather or rough seas. So let me ask you, how many truck-sized boxes of socks, rubber duckies, furniture, desk lamps, t-shirts, or any one of 1,000 types of cargo do you think go overboard each year? Is it 10 to 20, 100 to 200, 1,000 to 2,000, or do 10,000 to 20,000 containers go off the side of a ship every year? So with the Ever Forward, they've used tugboats to try and push and pull this thing out of the mud. They've tried dredging out the mud that's underneath it. And now they're trying offloading some of the containers so that it will ride higher in the water so they could get it unstuck. Stay tuned. All right, and sticking with local news, if you've been paying attention to the news in Maryland this month, you might have heard the word gerrymander slung about. My question for you, which of these things is a gerrymander? This squiggly river? This squiggly amphibian? Or is it when Jerry Mouse squiggles away from Tom Cat? Or is it this squiggly looking map district? I'll give you a hint. The word gerrymander is a portmanteau word, meaning a word blending the sounds and combining the meanings of two others. For example, the word brunch, which combines breakfast and lunch, meaning I'm hungry. All right. As for our last question, sports. South Carolina beat the University of Connecticut in the women's college basketball tournament championship last night. The final score was 64-49 as the Gamecocks handed the Huskies their first loss in 12 NCAA title games. Look how happy they are. It's especially satisfying to celebrate this game right now because 2022 is the 50th anniversary of an important federal civil rights law that prohibits sex-based discrimination in any school or other educational program that receives funding from the federal government. Meaning that the women we see playing college sports, including Baltimore's own Anaya Russell, who played for the Institute of Notre Dame before she went to college in South Carolina, have been able to play and train since the time they started elementary school. What is this landmark piece of legislation called? Is it called Anaya's Law, the Law of Conservation of Funding, Title IX, or the Flawless Law? This law, part of the Educational Amendments of 1972, paved the way for women's sports programs in schools and colleges. All right, that's our 5 questions. Oh, why does it say 3? I don't know. All right, that's our 5 questions. Here's our answers. The answer here is all of the above. Going from the top left, Albert Einstein is the Nobel Prize winner, well known for his scientific discoveries, but in the midst of his work, he was forced to flee Europe due to the rise of the Nazi Party in Germany. He settled in the United States and worked alongside his wife to help European Jews who were fleeing to the United States. Actress Mila Kunis was born in a part of the Soviet Union, which is now the Russian Federation, that is now in Ukraine. Her parents brought her family to the United States when she was 7 years old, in part because of anti-Semitism and lack of opportunity. Ms. Kunis has raised more than $30 million for Ukrainian refugee relief. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar was born in Somalia. Her family fled the civil war there and spent 4 years in a refugee camp in Kenya. They immigrated to the United States, and she was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 2018. And Superman. Yes, he's a refugee. His birth name is Kal-El. He was sent to Earth as a baby by his parents just before his home planet Krypton was detonated. He is an ambassador for World Refugee Day. The UN's High Commission for Refugees lets us check in on the situation in Ukraine in real time. So this is the operational data portal for the Ukraine refugee situation. We see that 4,215,000 people have fled Ukraine, mostly women and children. This last updated 3 April, that's yesterday. We can see what countries, you see the size of these arrows tells you how many people proportionally have gone to each country. The bulk have gone to Poland. But it gives you numbers and a graph showing how many people had left as of each date. It's important to use primary sources, guys, when you are looking at the news. All right, back to our quiz. Pratt Library has exceptional books about refugees. Memoirs, nonfictions, historical fiction. These are all graphic novels, and they are all come highly recommended. About her own refugee experience, Congresswoman Omar writes, After nearly 4 years of survival in a refugee camp and over a year of intense vetting by the United Nations and the United States, we finally got a golden ticket to come to America. I wouldn't be here today raising my children in comfort without the generosity of the Kenyan people, the tireless efforts of UN workers, and the welcoming spirit of the American people who gave me and my family a second chance at life. We hope that all 4 million Ukrainians will be able to return home safely once this war is over. Answer 2. I thought this bird age question was just fascinating. According to Guinness World Records, the oldest bird is Cookie, a Major Mitchell's cockatoo, Cockatoa ledbetteri, who was 82 years and 89 days old when he passed away in 2016 in his home at the Brookfield Zoo in Chicago, Illinois. He had a known birth date of June 30th of 1933 and was so beloved that he received gifts, letters, and cards from people all over the world. So here are some factors that can affect the lifespan of a bird. Larger birds in general tend to live longer than smaller bird breeds. It takes longer living species more time to reach adulthood. And birds that nest in treetops tend to live longer than those that nest in the ground. That one, I think I might have been able to figure out myself. Also, island-dwelling birds tend to live longer. The bird that lives the longest in the wild right now is an albatross named Wisdom. It's kind of hard to figure out how old a bird is unless they're in captivity, however. Oh, look at him. That is a pretty pink bird. All right. Answer 3. According to reports in Bloomberg News and the World Shipping Council, 226 million container boxes are shipped via boat each year. And an average of, yes, 1,382 containers are lost at sea. Some of them float, some of them sink right away, some of them sink kind of slowly. It all depends upon how watertight the container is and what's in it. So that's just an average, though, and was compiled before the One Apus stack collapse in December 2020 that resulted in the loss of more than 1,800 containers in the Pacific Ocean. If you look at this video, you can clearly see that there's a before where everything is stacked up neatly, and an after where definitely everything has sort of slumped over and 1,800 containers got lost in the sea. So let's check on the live position of the Ever Forward using one of my favorite websites, marinetraffic.com. So this shows us the information about the Ever Forward, including its picture. Here we go. That's what this thing looks like, fully loaded. And where it is on our live map. Yep, there she is, stuck in the Chesapeake Bay. And all of these little guys, I think, are the tugboats and dredgers that are helping to get it out of there. All right, best of luck. Hopefully you don't end up looking like this thing. All right. Question 4, I asked you which of these pictures represents a gerrymander. Did you get it? Gerrymandering is the idea of shaping voting districts to benefit either the Republican or the Democratic Party in this country. Last month, a judge decided that the way that Maryland's voting district map had been drawn gave unfair advantage to the Democrats. Every state gets a certain number of congressmen based on how many people are living in it, and then it's up to the state to divide itself up evenly. But there are lots of ways to draw a map. I'm going to try to explain this. It's a little bit complicated, but it's worth knowing about. In areas where the majority of people vote for one party, you could draw the district line so that voters of the other party are divided up. So this is Austin, Texas, and they take all the people in there and divide them into other parties so that their votes are diluted and the state doesn't elect a congressperson from that party. Or you could make a squiggly district that collects together all the pockets of people who vote for one party so that those people's votes actually count more. This is a district in Chicago that kind of looks like pincher sort of thing. According to the Baltimore Sun, Governor Larry Hogan is expected to approve a redrawn map of Maryland's congressional districts this very afternoon. There's still some mighty funny looking districts in there, I'd say. It's important and difficult to draw these district lines fairly so that everyone is represented. It's not a perfect system. What would you do to improve it? And for our last question, the answer here, of course, is Title IX, passed in 1972 as part of the larger set of educational reforms called the Educational Amendments of 1972. See these ladies with their feathered hair and their short shorts? I was in first grade when this came through. I'm looking forward to a new documentary by basketball star and announcer Candace Parker called Title IX 37 Words That Changed America. But until then, I have some terrific biographies of women athletes that you can check out at the library. That is our 5 questions and our quiz. Thanks for playing. Before you go, though, here with a message from Baltimore City Health Department is teen vaccine ambassador Aflal Muhammad. What have you got for us, Aflal?
Hello, everyone. So I'm here with Value Baltimore, and welcome to the quiz questions from Value Baltimore. So who are we? Value Baltimore. Value Baltimore stands for Vaccine Access and Acceptance, Lives in Unity, Education and Engagement. Youth Ambassadors. We aim to educate and inform about COVID-19. We also want to provide resources for everyone to have the opportunity to get vaccinated. So for our first question number 1, what does corona and coronavirus mean? A, sun, B, beer, C, strong, or D, crown? Question number 2, which of these is not a common COVID-19 symptom? Blurred vision, A, B, cough, C, unusual fatigue, D, fever, E, inability to taste or smell. How do I stay safe? These are some ways you guys can stay safe. 1, wearing masks, contact tracing, most importantly, getting vaccinated. You should be washing your hands frequently for 20 seconds or more, spreading important information, taking a COVID-19 test if you feel sick or were exposed, and also adhering to the correct amount of quarantine. All right, for question number 1, the answer for what does corona and coronavirus mean? It's D, crown. And then for question number 2, which of these is not a common COVID-19 symptom? It was A, blurred vision. All the rest are common coronavirus symptoms. You guys can scan this to find a clinic for getting vaccinated.
It totally works.
Yep.
Hey, that's our quiz. Thanks for playing. Before you go, though, I thank you, Aflal. As always, your news quiz relies on authoritative sources for our information. Sources like the Cornell Ornithology Lab, Baltimore Sun, ABC News, Khan Academy, and the World Shipping Council. Thanks for playing along with our quiz, and we'll see you next month, News Nerds.